Joining us now from the AMBIT conference is Ashok Wadhwa. Ashok, thanks very much for joining us. You know, so far we've seen the Hope Rally play out in India, driven largely by politics. People were betting on a new government. People were betting on Narendra Modi as Prime Minister. Do you believe that politics could upset the apple cart, so to speak, especially given what we've seen happen as far as Maharashtra is concerned, with the 25-year-old alliance between the Shiv Sena and the BJP going kaput, and of course the NCP and the Congress parting ways as well?
Shereen, if you think about it, thus far the rally, the market rally in particular, has been largely euphoric and based on change in sentiment. Very clearly, I think the investing public has liked the fact that a government has been given a significant mandate, and that coalition politics that ruled the country and in some ways probably destroyed economics for many years is now a matter of past. Equally important was the fact that Mr. Modi was seen as a new, energetic, young leader who was going to try and lead India into this new global environment. And I think that sentiment continues to play positively. We've seen how 3 months ago it was difficult to get meetings from significant investors, and how we've seen a welcoming approach from those investors. They actually come to see us now versus we go to see them. Having said that, both the bypolls, the results in the bypolls, and now the change in the political environment in Maharashtra could play a very important role in upsetting that sentiment. The investing public was largely dependent upon this large mandate that Mr. Modi has got, to be followed by successes in bypolls, successes in different states, and then hopefully a larger mandate in the Rajya Sabha, so that the reform process could be expedited. Otherwise, we will have a scenario like the insurance bill, where the Lok Sabha approves it given the BJP majority, and then there is struggle at the Rajya Sabha. And I would argue that if the Maharashtra results and results in other states don't go exactly where the central results went, and there is a loss for BJP like in some of the bypolls, I think it will hurt the sentiment, and I think it will make life from a economic perspective, politics meeting economics, a little more difficult. You
said, a couple of months ago it was hard to get meeting with investors, but now investors are here talking to you about the India story. What are the questions that they're asking you? Yes, the long-term trend is bullish. Yes, in the long term, the India story looks interesting. The opportunity looks viable. But are they beginning to now question the moves of the government? Are they beginning to seek details about what happens beyond intent?
So I think there is clear conviction both in Mr. Modi as a leader as well as the mandate that BJP has been given, that this combination is both empowered and capable of bringing in reform and changing the trajectory of development in India. That has not changed. That has not changed. If anything, I think his actions vis-a-vis foreign policy, the manner in which he has brought in a new work culture, the work ethics of how he is governing the whole country, seems to be furthering, at least in the minds of large global investors, that India is on the right path, and that Mr. Modi is the leader who can actually evolve India into this new destination, towards this new destination. Having said that, there is some questions in terms of, does the government have the bandwidth? I mean, why are so many ministers having duplicate and triplicate portfolios? How are they managing their workload at this point of time?
These are questions that investors are asking.
These are questions that investors are asking, to say, can Mr. Modi, along with a relatively small and some people say depleted cabinet, make all the changes that are required to be made? And then if there is hampering from a political perspective, then the challenges tend to be even more. People are starting to ask questions on why is it that after having made clear promises that retroactive amendments will not be introduced, there was a bit of a wishy-washy response and no further clarifications since the budget was introduced. People are starting to ask questions on, yes, we keep hearing about further progress in GST, and we know the importance of GST, but will it really happen? Now, GST per se may not be the most important piece of legislation, although I think it's amongst the more important pieces of legislation. But the fact that the government, despite a commitment to take that important step forward, has not been able to provide further guidance and clarity on how it will come is leading to some doubts, I must say.
So what does this mean then as far as the markets are concerned? We've seen the last couple of days of pain. We've now starting to talk about whether we are going to see a 5 to 10% pullback or correction. Do you believe that we are going to see a correction that is protracted or sharper than what people are anticipating it to be, which is 5 to 8%, which is par for the course given the fact that we've already seen such a significant up move?
Yeah, so I think you're right. I mean, Shireen, the markets have really moved significantly further than what they ought to have achieved in the limited time that we have seen this government perform. A more realistic target would have been a little more calibrated growth versus a sharper growth that we have seen in the market. And when the markets move that far, and should the market expectations in terms of reform not happen, which was anyway significantly aggressive and artificial, you will see a pullback. And a pullback is not bad. I think a pullback in this situation is good. It allows investors to take a fresh breath. It allows new investors who are sitting on the fence to look at participation. And I would argue that a pullback of this nature augurs well for both the maturity of the market as well as the tendency towards a more positive run from here onwards. Having said that, you know, at some stage we need to see a more consistent and gradual but forward-looking market. And that will only happen now once the euphoria has died. If we see real reforms, if we see real capital expenditure, if we see real investments going in, and if we see, you know, critical macroeconomic factors being appropriately addressed.
But what is it that you're factoring in now as far as the year-end Sensex or the Nifty target is concerned, given the fact that we anticipate a pullback? We don't know how sharp it will be. The general consensus is that it's unlikely to be sharper than 5 to 10%, and that, you know, it's a good move for the markets. It will probably make the markets a lot more healthier. Given that, where do you see the markets closing the year?
You know, honestly, rather than focus on a number, I think each time the market pullback happens in the same 3 to 5 to 7% range, I think there will be new investors, there will be new investing opportunities, because the belief that India is a very strong, solid economy and that India will generate long-term returns is now nicely established amongst all large investors. And therefore, at every lower opportunity, they will bring in fresh investments and fresh capital, and which is good for the country. So rather than predict a particular number for the year end, I would say that the growth and the upturn in the market will remain consistent, will remain forward-looking, and the markets are not going to take a one-way downturn for more than a short period of time.
So which are the sectors that people are betting on, or at least they like in India at this point in time, given the fact that we've already seen valuations move up significantly? On the basis of that and future growth opportunities, what are people talking about today?
So very clearly, the two sectors that seem to be gaining a lot of attention and focus, both emanating again from belief in Mr. Modi and his ability to be able to implement what he says, are the manufacturing sector and the infrastructure sector. I would also argue real estate related to the infrastructure.
But manufacturing, are people really starting to buy that story? Because there's many challenges to be able to achieve the Make in India goal and the Make in India dream, but
So I don't think, I think we have a long distance to travel before made in India and sold everywhere else becomes a reality. But the fact that the Prime Minister of the country has chosen that theme and continues to consistently repeat it shows that there is an element of serious introspection as to what needs to get done to achieve that. There is belief that Mr. Modi will introduce reform. There is also belief that eventually manufacturing is the only solution to India's growing population.
Right.
Having said that, I'm still not focusing and do not believe that it's the large manufacturing businesses, globally manufacturing businesses, that will be the first ones to take an upturn. I think ancillary businesses, logistics businesses that are really B2B and supply auto components, engineering related products to the large manufacturers are the first ones, because it's easy to set that capacity. There is already a growing demand for that product. India's engineering capability is well established. And I would argue that what the auto component industry showed in terms of innovation at one point of time will gain a lot of support, not just with the auto industry, but across all other businesses that need components and manufacturing infrastructure. So I would say that would be the first one. And then as that grows and that sustains itself, hopefully there will be more reform, there will be labor changes, there will be other changes that are required for made in India and consumed everywhere to become reality. And then, of course, it's bonanza time.
So, you know, he's going to be here pitching the India story to investors. To make this visit a success and to ensure that we continue to see the kind of confidence that India enjoys today, what is it that you would like him to say?
Well, I think Mr. Modi is a cautious man when it comes to making serious promises. So I think I would like him to continue following the cautious approach. But I think if he can introduce, in Japan, he had this mantra to say that if you come to India and you want to set up a manufacturing business, I will lay down a red carpet.
Red carpet and do away with the red tape. Yeah.
With red tape. I mean, if he can communicate how he will do it, it's one thing to state, and it went down very well, I have to say that. Red carpet versus red tape has become a mantra. If he can articulate how he intends to do it, and if he can even touch upon some changes that he has in mind, and the time frame within which those changes will go, then I think it will go a long way. I think most people in the United States at least believe that India has a great vision. The challenge has always been in implementing that vision. And what we need to see, I think what he needs to demonstrate over here is that he's a prime minister, not just with a vision, but with an implementation strategy, and that there is a time-bound plan and accountability for that implementation strategy. And if he can deliver that message along with some concrete deadlines, and I'm not asking him to go down to the micro levels, but some semblance of how he hopes to achieve that, I think it will go a long, long way into bringing significant capital.
Well, let's hope he does exactly that, Ashok. It's been a pleasure talking to you in New York. Thanks very much for joining us on CNBC TV 18.
Thank you. Thank you, Shereen.